Delta's worst seat, the terrible United food offerings, and TSA Touchless. How does it work and how it's getting better? All of that coming up right now on MTM Travel.
You know it's not open half the time.
So, Mark, happy Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed the Independence Day festivities. America turned 250 and we lost the World Cup.
Yeah, it was a fun weekend. I've definitely got some sun. If you can't tell, if you're watching the video, then I'm probably peeling and red and all kinds of things. But we had a lot of fun this weekend. I actually went kind of hard on Friday night because a lot of people had the day off. So we had some friends come over and they brought their kids and we just hung out by the water for half the day. And I went got a little too into the spirit. And then on Saturday, and they had the city fireworks shows on Friday night. On Saturday, everybody was shooting off the local fireworks, and I was like, I'm going to bed.
This is how you do it lately. You go hard the first night, and then you peter out on the second night. Small town Americana and the 4th of July, I have to say, few things are better. I did the Vegas Strip, which is a whole different end of the spectrum, but some of my favorite 4th of Julys are spent in small town America.
Yeah, when you got the little parade in town and they're throwing candy, and our neighborhood does like a golf cart parade where everybody dresses up their golf cart and drives around and throws candy, which is all the kids always love because they get like a full bag because there's not that many kids. It's a lot of older people that live in this area, so they're buying all this candy thrown out, and my kids are like, there's probably like a couple houses on each street that have kids, so they get their fill of sugar and tooth decay.
Well, it was great. It was fun celebrating the country, all of the big shows. Obviously, in Washington, D.C., the show was just insane. And all over the country, though. It was one to remember. We talked about it. We weren't here for the bicentennial, which, growing up, everybody talked about the bicentennial because it wasn't that long ago, or at least I remember that. I remember everybody saying, oh, the bicentennial this, the bicentennial that. Well, we finally got our own, and it was perfectly 2026 all around the board. All the controversy leading up to it, all the other stuff, all the foreigners, the Europeans coming, loving the ranch dressing, all the sort of stuff. And we are now 250. It's been an interesting time.
No, and that's what's really cool about it. The World Cup being here this year is that there are so many people from other countries that got to experience the 250th and probably got to witness it. And whenever we travel, everybody always says, "Oh, Americans are so friendly," and they're kind of surprised by that. And some of them get annoyed because we try to talk to people, and that's not a thing elsewhere, or at least most places. And they're some are open to it, some are put off by it, but it's always funny to see them kind of experience it and then be like, wow, it's totally different than I expected. And I think we saw a lot of that, and it's just shared even more now with social media and TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and everything. People just constantly posting videos of how generous people have been with them, how helpful and kind, and they're like, the news portrays Americans in one way and it feels completely different. That was cool to see. And then also to see everybody celebrate the country and really get into the spirit for the 250th was a lot of fun.
And a lot of travelers, people who watch this show, I'm sure, are included in that, have traveled the U.S., have seen a lot of the states, have seen a lot of the country, and just realize how vast it is and how diverse it is and how incredible it is to certainly travel around there. And a lot of Europeans are finding out just how big our country is, basically as big as Europe, and every state is different, and just traveling around. And there is a lot to see. A lot of people dream, okay, well, going to Europe and to go sweat in the summer with no air conditioning or whatever. But you have a lot of incredible things here to see as well. I love traveling outside the country, but it's a pretty good one to travel inside of as well.
Yeah, each state is kind of like its own country in size and population and in uniqueness, or at least areas are unique. State to state also has every state has something that's really kind of cool to check out. And when you go from one to the other, it does feel like a little bit of a culture switch. Yeah, everything, laws for the most part are the same and things like that, but there is definitely different dialects and everything that you feel when you go through Europe and you go to different countries. And even we forget that that's the case here.
I mean, they got New Jersey lefts here, and a New Jersey left is as foreign to me as
whatever. It's Michigan left first. We were the first ones.
So let's talk this Delta seat. I saw Emiliano Padilla Sorry if I messed up his name. I followed him forever on X. He's a really cool traveler. Good follow if you want to do that. But he shared this seat on Delta that he got as a last minute score. And I guess this comes from ex Lion Air 737s that Delta has taken possession of. This seat, I mean, first off, the seat looks crooked. So can we talk about that? Maybe that's just the angle of the picture, but it's so narrow. And then you have the wall right there. I think I would rather just get booked on a later flight.
Would you? I mean, I don't think I would mind it that much. I'd rather have this than be in the middle in a regular seat. I feel like the worst part is the guy sitting, and maybe this was just because of the picture, but the guy sitting next to him is taking up the middle armrest essentially. I've always felt like, all right, if you're sitting on aisle or window, you get the further out armrest. The middle armrest goes to the middle person, both sides, and that guy has it on there. I'm like, you're taking his only one armrest. Like, move over.
Well, you got the wall to lean into. That's going to be right in your side.
Good for sleeping.
That reminds me of the old U.S. Airways planes. And, obviously when you're sitting in an extra row or something, the seats are narrower. But something on the old U.S. Airways planes, I stopped doing exit rows because the seats were so narrow. And it wasn't just because of the way that they're solid in between and you're just like this. It wasn't comfortable. This seat looks like that. It looks like a good 2 inches narrower than a normal seat. But I don't know. I have said this. I would love to know if anybody else feels the same way. Like on Southwest back in the day with the boarding, I always said if I was to get a C, I would walk up to the gate and pay, and it never happened. Thankfully, I was always on top of it. But if I got stuck in a middle seat on the last minute, I really do think, I mean, obviously sometimes you have to get home, but if I didn't have like an appointment right then, I think I would just say, put me on a later flight.
I remember, I believe it was Southwest or when I was flying as a kid. Remember at the front of the plane, they used to have like the rows would face each other for the first section, like one row on the bulkhead wall facing back to everybody else facing forward. And they put us up there because I was flying as an unaccompanied minor. So they just put us up in that section, me and another kid. And as I got older, I thought, man, that seat would suck. Like the last thing I want to do is be staring face to face at somebody like on a train. Like I don't like when random people sit on the train with me across from the table from me. I hate it.
It's so weird. My first ever flight was on Southwest Airlines from Burbank to Las Vegas on one of those planes facing backwards. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I thought all planes had backward facing seats, and it was only Southwest. And I was also an unaccompanied minor. How about that? It's crazy how the world works. But that's the only time I ever flew on one of them. All the other Southwest flights, they didn't have them. And then those flights, I think they were the 737-200. People can correct me, but those are all long gone now, so they don't have them anymore. But I don't know. I love flying backwards.
I don't like it. I don't like it in business. I don't like it on Southwest. I just don't. It feels unnatural. I don't know why. It just does to me. I definitely don't want to be staring at someone. But I think the worst seat I've gotten lately is I think it was on Delta. It was one of the ones that has like where they just drop in a like kind of like a wall type of thing, and then they have the flip down seat for the flight attendant right by the exit row, and the person that sits behind it. And I didn't know that when I booked it. It didn't show that when I picked my seat, but it takes away my whole leg room. I don't have a tray table. I don't like when the tray table come out of the arms in economy. I don't like that. I don't like when the video screen pops up either. I try to avoid those seats. But the big thing was like I didn't have a lot of leg room because I didn't have an under space to stretch my feet out. So I was like, what the hell is this?
This is why SeatGuru, it's kind of sad. SeatGuru is dead, I think. The company who bought them just didn't do it. And now there's other sites that have sort of taken the mantle of that. But that's why it became a sort of thing, is that you don't want to be on the bad side of it. And I think it's one of the advantages regular travelers, people who know the planes, get to do it, that they have over other people, is doing it. Although I have spent way too much time obsessing over seats and then just to find out that there's not much of a difference as well. Or I don't care if I get one without a window. I've done that too. Like I've messed up. Obviously I would prefer a window, but every once in a while you get that stupid row because the way they design the seats where you don't get a window, that's sort of bothersome. But yeah, none of it really bothers me. It's really about leg room and being able to, just the width of the seats, which are pretty standardized now. And then when you're on Frontier or whatever, after a couple hours, the seats themselves do make a difference. Like the lack of padding, I think that has really sucked across all the airlines the last few years.
Yeah, I bought one of those blow up cushions and I always forget to bring it, but for like a Frontier flight just to see if it helps my butt.
Well, let's talk some other stuff. Transfer bonuses. We talked last week about how American Express launched transfer bonuses for Virgin and Hilton, 30% to Virgin, 20% to Hilton. Then they pulled them. You had speculated that they had accidentally released them early and they would be coming back. And indeed, they have. The Virgin 30% bonus goes through the end of July. The Hilton bonus goes through July 14th. So they're back and you can take advantage.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, the Hilton bonus is better than the Bilt for a lot of people for rent day, and that's because Amex already starts at a 1-to-2 rate, which is the way it should be with Bilt. But whatever, we're moving on from that. Virgin, I think people still find good uses of Virgin. It's not as good as it was, but that's always good to see. And I do wonder, like, do you think that when they run these deals that they get discounted rates on buying more miles, or do you think they're trying to offload stuff they've already purchased? I'm guessing that they must negotiate some type of rate, like, hey, whatever miles go through this transfer, we're going to give you a lower rate for them. And maybe that's why they pulled it, even though, because we both were like, why wouldn't you just leave it up? Be like, oops, my bad, but you guys get an extra week to make the transfers. And it has to be that it cost them more if they did that, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's marketing windows and marketing partnerships. I'm sure that there is some sort of a cost, like they're sharing the cost of this extra amount. So I'm sure, or maybe the brand is paying for the vast majority of it because it is marketing for them, right? I used to work at a cable company and every month we would have a different provider back in the day when you get, HBO, Stars, Cinemax were separate subscriptions and they would be in window and then we were not able to have a promotion for the other things. And I think that might sort of be the case where they do that. I don't know, but that would make perfect sense if there's a contract that says, hey, these dates. But it is good to see the 30% for Virgin. We've also had that with Chase, right? Recently. So it's not like 30% for Virgin's anything special.
No, I mean, I still always transfer a chunk just for the AMC popcorn and drink stuff, but I don't use Virgin for booking all that often. It still comes in handy occasionally, but it's not the way it used to be where I would do speculative transfers all the time. Hey, Sean, I said it without messing it up. I would do that. I would do it all the time because I would know I'd be flying a Delta flight or, internationally, it was still very useful, but domestically, it was insanely valuable, and it just isn't that way anymore.
But don't sleep on the AMC theaters. I just wish my local AMC theater had the recliners like the other theaters. That's the only downside for me why I don't do that. But that is a great deal, redeeming those points for all the AMC goodness.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I can afford to take my kids to the movies.
Well, let's talk about Benjy, another Benjy experience, one of his articles. He just did a trip to Disneyland. He has a lot of writing around that, his hotels, everything going on. But for his flight out, he booked his family and him in first class on United, connecting through Denver. So he was flying from the East Coast to Denver, and I think it was over 1,500-mile flight. And on any flight over 1,200 miles, United says they serve you a hot meal, but he didn't get that. He just got a nice cold meal. And it's just a reminder that, first off, don't book domestic anything for food, or even, I just talked about my Royal Air Moroccan, how bad the food was. And second, it just keeps getting worse, right? I mean, if you get a good meal in the sky, just be grateful for it.
Well, I mean, this is another level. This is like a grab and go at a Hyatt place, and it doesn't feel premium at all. I mean, the food is never all that great, but you expect some type of egg, an omelet, or something like that that they have prepared, and then some other options. Normally, there's like an oatmeal that's not good, but this is all prepackaged crap that you get from like a cafeteria.
Yeah, and sometimes on shorter flights that makes sense. And I've noticed that on shorter and shorter flights, less service, all this sort of stuff, even up front, and they've done that. But this is per their policies, they should do it. And according to him, he got a banana, Kellogg's cornflakes. They could have given him generic cornflakes, Mark. They went Kellogg's. That's good.
Oh
Cheese
boy,
plate, a roll, and then a container of milk. So there you go. And then you get
it
the
was all
full drink
packaged.
service too.
It was all
Yes,
packaged.
it's not good.
You had to peel plastic off of all of it. Yeah, it's just not what you would expect in first class, and maybe like premium economy on a longer flight, they would do something like that. I don't know, a banana and cornflakes. That's just crazy. And not to mention, a lot of people cannot do dairy, so they don't want milk. It just seems like you should have more options, and this was just kind of here you go. And like you said, if it was like a 2 hour flight and you're not expecting anything, that'd be nice. But on like a 4 hour flight, you would think that there'd be a bit more. I just don't understand how they're so bad at food on airlines. I know that they have challenges. The food's got to be cooked on the ground and then they, heat it up on the plane. I just like lean cuisine makes better meals. Why don't we just have lean cuisines on the plane?
I haven't flown first class for breakfast in a while. I was just thinking about that. I used to fly domestically a lot more than I do. And there was a period of time when I had executive platinum where I would get American Airlines and I flew them for breakfast quite often. I don't know. I just had a lot of flights in the morning. I used to love their breakfast, although I wouldn't eat a lot of it. I would just eat the fruit, but their biscuits that they had on American, I hope they still have them. I guess people out there can let me know. But it is, sometimes it is nice to have that. And even though we like to make fun of domestic first class, in this case, he paid up for that, right? It's not even like he was relying on a free upgrade, and they have policies in place. Yeah, it just sucks. I don't know what the theory is here. Maybe the catering didn't come. Although when he looked online before his flight, right, it had this
Yeah.
menu.
Yeah, not even a stroopwafel. At least like hook my man up with a stroopwafel and put over his coffee or something. But like you said, don't book domestic first class for any reason for food. Like just take it because you want the extra seat. Maybe for drinks. Some people do that, but you can do that and Comfort Plus or main cabin extra, whatever the hell the airline you're flying calls it. But it just goes to show, like when I flew a Middle Eastern carrier, but we were going from Singapore to Thailand. It was only a 2-hour flight. I got a full chicken meal, and it was better than anything I get domestically in first class, and I was in economy. And it just goes to show like how different the world treats their passengers. And you would expect for this premium, especially with the prices that people are paying, like $800,000 for a 4-hour flight. Come on, you need something that's somewhat decent.
And that is a good point. Most of the world, if you get on a flight, I don't know what the limits are, but I was just on a very short flight from Spain to Morocco. They had like a hot pocket type of thing in Asia. Most often, I've been on 1 hour flights where you get a full meal served to you in economy. So, yeah, I mean, that's how it used to be here too, right? The better service, better everything. Yeah, the food isn't all that important. To your point, the drinks are because you get a better service up front, even if you're in the back paying for drinks. It's hard to get more than a couple of them. Whereas up front, they're usually a little bit better. If you get a good flight attendant, sometimes they'll sneak you a couple of those. Those are the best ones, right? The flight attendants that bring you a couple extra bottles that you can take with you.
Yeah, there was one that was an American Airlines flight attendant. I remember because we were drinking screwdrivers, and we're on the way to Vegas, and we're like, "All right, screwdriver." He's like, "Here you go. Here's like a big thing of orange juice. Here's like 3 bottles of vodka. You just pour them. Do it as you need it." And we threw some in our bag, and we had them at the hotel. And every time we ordered some water, and he just brought a huge bottle of water and set it there for us, which was cool. And I think my favorite thing to order on American Airlines when I'm in main cabin extra is I order a mimosa, and that's because they always give you the full little mini split bottle of champagne and then like a full glass of orange juice, and then they give you a second empty cup so that you could just like make yourself 2 or 3 drinks out of it, and you don't have to rely on them coming back again, which they never come back for main cabin. Yeah, you can ding them and ask for more, but it's not like it used to be. I feel like they used to go down the aisle 2 or 3 times asking if anybody needed anything, and that's just not the case anymore.
Yeah, and there's no, I don't know why. I just find that when you hit the button, they're never happy. Like later into a flight, usually I just go back to the galley and ask because they always give an attitude or they seem upset or I don't know, maybe, or so I just, if I go to the bathroom or something, I'll just ask while I'm back there or whatever. But yeah, it's harder to get it. I don't know. Sorry, Benji. It was so bad he didn't even take a picture. I guess it was as bad as my fish on the Moroccan Air Royal Morocco flight because it was so disgusting. I just didn't want to take a picture of it.
Sometimes you feel ashamed taking a picture of a slop when it comes out. Like there's been food that I've gotten on airplanes that actually tasted good, but it looks so unappealing that I was like, I can't take a photo of this. This just looks like somebody threw up on top of a chicken. But then you eat it and you're like, oh, it's actually kind of good.
Yeah, I've had many such cases of that. But let's move on talking about TSA Touchless ID. Now, this actually started a few years ago, but it's been rolling out to a lot more airports, I've noticed. And They also just added Google Wallet, so you can get this signed up in Google Wallet. Before that, I think you have to go to like each airline directly. The five big airlines participate in this, and then you have to like opt in with their program, upload your passport information. And this is all so that they can just take a picture of you, and then you don't need any ID at TSA. But now that it's on Google Wallet, I imagine that it's going to be a little bit easier for people to do it, hopefully coming to Apple Wallet and elsewhere. Seems like similar to Clear. I talked about how the global entry and all these machines, the facial recognition has gotten crazy fast. And so I think that we'll probably see this roll out everywhere for everyone at a certain point where they'll just know who you are, no opt-in necessary.
Minority Report coming in hot. But I have heard from people that this line does move quicker than even the normal pre-check line, and they've really enjoyed it and it's been useful. The question is, as it becomes easier to sign up for, does that slow things down? Maybe a bit, but we've seen it with Clear. Outside of a couple airports, it's usually fairly quick. I still don't understand why they have like 6 people working at every airport for Clear and why they have to all be there and push buttons. Like, it feels like you should just be facial recognition, good to go. And maybe that's the way they're working, because I noticed in Detroit, and I think it's at other airports too, they now have a thing where you walk after the person scans your eyeballs or whatever. You go to this thing and it just scans you again and then opens up. You don't even have to talk to a TSA agent, which is nice. And I love that. So hopefully we can get to the point where they scan your face. You go to that thing. You don't have to talk to anybody, because it's just so annoying when you're waiting on them. And there's like 5 of them there and they're just doing nothing. And you're like, come on, like, let's get this moving. I paid you 200 and some dollars. Can we move? Why were we standing here? So hopefully we streamline that a bit. I don't know. Maybe they have contracts in place that they have to hire so many people, but that has been nice to see. The one downside of both of these is minors can't use it, even if they do have a passport, even if they do have a facial scan, all that stuff. And we noticed that we used it when the TSA was having issues and it was understaffed, and they let me go through the Clear one. And then my wife had to go with my kids through the regular checkout line. The TSA guy's like, what the hell? Why aren't they going through that? She's like, well, they have kids. He's like, oh, okay. So he didn't even know.
Yeah, I think this is the future that we're headed towards. And I guess the privacy concerns and everything that people have, I mean, if you're already in pre-check, you've already given all your information to them. So you're already opted in. If anything, TSA should just make this easier. Why don't they have an app where we could just opt into everything in the TSA pre-check app, and then it would just work everywhere? I do suspect we'll probably move towards this, and anything we can do to make security a little bit easier. You are trading off your privacy, but again, I mean, they're tracking everything anyway, and you've already opted in if you're this far in the process. So I think it's good. I mean, I do think it's good. They should just have a manual option, though, for kids like they do elsewhere if they're not able to do it, so they can still go through that line.
Yeah, that would be nice to see. And then we talked about MPC, or mobile passport control, coming into the US. Most entry points have it now, where you just answer the questions on your app and then you walk right through, and it's much shorter line, much quicker. I don't know why they don't just force everybody to fill out that stuff. Maybe because some people don't have smartphones, whatever it be. But I feel like as we progress into the future, that's kind of what we need to get to, where you just fill out your stuff before you get there. You walk up, there's a person sitting there, it scans you. Okay, all check, ding, ding, move on, go through like we see with the MPC program. Why isn't that the setup for everybody coming through customs that's from the US? Like, why can't we streamline all of that? It just seems like, okay, if you know about it, cool. But if you just made everybody do it, they would do it.
I don't have you met humans, Mark? There's always going to be people struggling. You always have to have the backup system. I think Japan has a good example of this, where they have the ability to do it before, just like here. And last year, I think when I went there, they had just implemented this new system, and I did it in line because it just saved me. It gave me a QR code, and the line was much longer. So while we were sort of waiting in the line, I did it, and then we were able to skip it. So I think a lot of people just don't know, and then they're not fast enough to be able to do it there. I don't miss at all the crazy agents, though, giving you the third degree about where you've been and all that. It's really nice with global entry now, or even mobile passport control. You probably still have to talk to somebody, but it just, it just takes a lot of the craziness out of it. And again, they're tracking you anyway. They know where you've been. They know where you're going for the most part. And I don't know. I just never used to enjoy coming back to the country, and now it's become so easy. Knock on wood. I'm sure I'll get stopped next time.
The worst is land borders, man. I hated coming back from Canada when I used to go over there a lot, and they third degree you nonstop. And if you didn't give one, if one answer wasn't something that they thought was like, you're going into the search, your whole car's getting looked over. And it's like, come on, man.
Come on, man.
I don't
So
have no, I don't have no cocaine. No.
so let's talk about your Delta Companion Pass booking. I know that you wanted to talk about that benefit and the perk and how you're using it.
Yeah, so I have it from the Delta Reserve card. Got that about a year ago from Upgrade offer. And this is that one card. If you followed along, I think I've gotten like 350,000 Sky Miles out of this one card from the, and this is after getting the sign up bonus just from upgrades, downgrades, AU offers, retention offer. It's just been crazy. So I downgraded from a reserve to a blue, and they gave me a bonus for downgrading for keeping the card. I guess, I don't know. It wasn't even discussed by the agent. It just came up like, spend $500, you get 10,000 miles or something like that. So I did that, and then I got an upgrade to gold, then an upgrade to reserve, and that's how I got it. So the yearly thing hit, and it hasn't been 12 months since I upgraded. So, but I did earn the companion pass. So I'm like, okay, it works in first class all the way down to economy. And we talked about how I was looking for hotels in New Orleans, and Hyatt was showing the different categories. Well, I was booking the flight, and we're booking Delta, and he wanted to, for my buddy's birthday, he wanted to fly first class down so we could have some fun and then fly economy back. So I booked that, and it was, I think, $700, six something round trip. And the companion pass took care of everything but the taxes and fees for the other. So we're talking like a $650 ish perk, which is more than offsets the annual fee, or right at the annual fee. And but I still don't value it at that. Like, yeah, that's what you can get. And I question, like, how do you value these things? Do you look at it differently? Maybe they should be valued more now because cash prices are so high, but I look at it as, I wouldn't have paid a cash price for that flight. One, had I not had the companion pass, I would have looked for other options, even with a connection. Two, if I didn't have a Delta credit from the Amex Platinum 200 airline rebates, I wouldn't have done it either because I paid for most of it with those. And now I can't do that anymore. So that makes these worth even less to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the space are going to be in that same position. I used to have like the Alaska companion certificates all the time that would just expire. I did use some of them for Hawaii, like incredible deals to Hawaii back in the day, and they had great value in that way. But when I got them, I never really said, okay, here's a value. The Southwest Companion Pass, a little bit of a different benefit because it's for a year, but we've talked a lot about the value on that. How do you calculate what you get there? Delta, I haven't really taken advantage of. I don't know. It's hard. I think it really just depends on the person and how you're doing it. I think there are a lot of people buying cash flights all the time, and then it would be a savings to them. But if you're somebody who's constantly redeeming miles, then it's a little bit different. And you know, it could be 50% off, right? If you're just charging your friend and you're doing that. I've done that before too. I used to do that with the companion pass. Is just buy a ticket and then my friend and I would split the cost of the ticket. A lot of people said I shouldn't have given. I should have. I had the companion pass. I shouldn't have given them
Yeah.
such a good deal. But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to do it, but definitely not at 100%.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna do. Ended up taking. We're doing a couple trips when my wife's going, so just booked her with it. But if it was just gonna be me and my buddy, I was gonna say, hey, let's just split the end cost of this after I use the companion pass. But I'm kind of torn there. Where if had they not neutered using the, spend $50 on a gift card, put 250 or less on the platinum card, and you get the Delta credit, I always earned six, $800,000 worth of Delta credit every year from the platinums we have. That makes the companion pass more worthwhile because I have this credit I need to burn. Not always flying with someone else, but I fly with someone else enough that it would make sense. I used one to get my daughter to California last year, and we went to Universal and everything, so that was a good use of it too. But also cash prices are so high now. Using miles is getting more difficult. Do I need to lean into these things more? I don't know. I'm not quite there yet. Like hotel free night certs, 100% all in on those. Companion passes, I'm still kind of into my realm of like, all right, I could have booked an American flight with some miles and we could have gotten there anyway, or Southwest or something along those lines. So I'm not all in, but I feel like if it keeps trending this way, at some point I'll be like, all right, these are worth more than I used to think.
It's a good juju perk, right? It gives you good juju. It can come and work wonders for you, give you great value, but also give you no value. Or, like you said, there may be another alternative flight that you're just kind of pretending doesn't exist just so you can feel like you got the good value. That happens a lot of the time too. And so it's just inconsistent probably, but it's good. I like companion passes. They're fun.
There you go, people. They're fun.
Fun and good juju. That is my take of the day. I know you come here for the hard-hitting commentary, and I just gave it to you. But in the meantime, let us know what you guys think about our companion pass is a big part of your strategy, whether it be Delta, Alaska, Southwest, which we know so many people do. How do you use them? How do you value them? The worst seat that you've had on an airplane recently. Let us know the worst food that you've had on an airplane recently. Let us know the transfer bonuses, everything else. Leave a comment. We do 2 shows a week. We'll be back on Thursday with more Miles and Points news, all of that. Have shows Wednesday and Friday on our Vegas channel. Check that out as well. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Talk to you next time.
Have a good week, everybody. Thank you.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your